From the first Roosevelt administration during the Depression and for a half a century afterward, Democrats were the party of the poor and the working class. Now, of course, that's completely changed. Instead of caring about class, the chief concern of the left is skin color. Some colors are good, some are bad. But don't take our word for it. A new study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology finds that after being taught about white privilege, fascinatingly, liberals feel less sympathy for poor white people. Instead, they're more likely to blame the poor for their problems and view their poverty as a just outcome. Probably not an accident. And of course, you already know what the result of this kind of thinking has been: a huge chunk of middle America dying. J.D. Vance is the author of the best-selling book Hillbilly Elegy and one of the smartest voices in what is becoming a new movement within conservatism. We're always happy to have him here. J.D. Vance, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you.
So, I've heard you say before that maybe the saddest change in the Democratic Party was this abandonment of class politics, to put it bluntly, in favor of identity politics.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you think of the study that you just cited, one of the craziest parts about it is that it doesn't, talking about white privilege doesn't increase sympathy for poor black people. It just decreases sympathy for poor white people. So it has this incredibly divisive effect on our politics. It frankly destroys some of the solidarity, the national solidarity that you need to actually solve some of these bigger problems. And it doesn't even help the people that it purports to help. This rhetoric is like pure division, no solution, and everybody loses.
I would argue that not everybody loses. It actually exculpates, it lets off the hook our ruling class. So they've failed a huge chunk of their fellow Americans. They're in charge, and the middle class is dying, but they don't have to feel guilty about it because now the middle class deserves it.
Yeah. So I find it's helpful to actually think about the real problems and who benefits from those problems and who might benefit from a solution. So a very real problem in America right now is that if you're a black business owner, to focus on problems of black Americans, it's really hard to get access to capital to grow your business, right? So whose fault is that? Is it the fault of the poor white person, or is it the fault of our financial elites? So notice the distraction this white privilege discourse infects in our politics. It takes the focus away from the people who might actually solve the problem. It puts the focus on people who are also suffering from a very similar problem. And at the end of the day, nobody benefits. You're right. I guess the people who benefit are the people who are at the top of the system. But if you actually want to help the broad middle of the country, you don't talk like that. You actually try to solve the problems of everyone.
Right. And it also hides all kinds of bad effects that their policies have brought to our middle and working classes. So if you're, a working class black person, immigration doesn't help you in any sense. It helps rich people. But our ruling class makes the conversation about race, so all of a sudden you feel like you've got to be in favor of this because there's some sort of solidarity, which is false.
Yep. Yeah, one of the pretty consistent findings is that the biggest problem with low-wage, low-skill immigration is that it has a competitive effect for black Americans on the lower end of the income scale. That's the group of people that low-wage, low-skill immigration is worse for. Again, it's good for people who are employing the low-skill workers. And so if you, again, distract from the people who are benefiting from the problem and you put the onus on a group of people who are also suffering from low-wage, low-skill competition, then you manage to build up the elites, and of course you don't actually solve any of the real problems.
But you insulate the people telling the lies from the blame, which is why